Hello, this video is talk about this peace agreement. Why I know that it's not going to bring peace, just like every other peace agreement that was ever signed with Arab and Muslim countries. And as these groups, these countries, this population, their goal for war is always religious war. They're fighting for paradise. They're fighting for God. As such, they have no intention of ending the war. The peace agreement is signed for the purpose of taking break from war, to resupply, to rearm themselves, to get more money from America, from the other European countries, in the name of rebuilding what they destroy. Imagine when a country start a war, as a result, a lot of their cities and population get destroyed. These Arab and Muslim countries, they get free money from the America and from the West in the name of rebuilding what they destroyed. Instead of they having to pay the consequences for starting the war, they basically have no incentive, no reason to stop the war, because they get free money every time they stop the war for a little bit. They get free money. They use that free money to resupply weapons, to get more weapons, more fighters, to dig more tunnels, and to fund their political alliances, their political friends around the world. Look at the United States, for example. A lot of these Democrat Congress is funded by Arab and Muslim countries to make sure that these Democrat get in place, to make sure that when the Arabs and Muslim countries start the war again, which they will always do, they get a vote from Democrat Congress, so that whoever Arab is fighting will not get help from the United States. And if you look back at the history of the peace agreement, whether you're going back to Ibrahim Accord that is signed between Arab countries and Israel, which is broken by Donald Trump, it didn't last that long. It's not a long time ago where Donald Trump is cheering on how great it was that he brought peace to the Middle East, all that nonsense, only for Hamas to regroup themselves, become the biggest uh, army in that region. They're able to create so many alliances in Lebanon, in Syria, in all the other Arab countries that is working together, supporting themselves, each other as one army, one God's army. Supply their rebels, their fighters with weapons, with support, with fighters, with logistically, including the UN. The UN vehicles, warehouse, hospitals, everything that they provide is used for this purpose. And and now you go back and see that these four, this peace agreement is nothing significant. It's not significant. It's nothing. Just like every other previous peace agreement that was signed and broken over and over and over and over again. This peace agreement and other peace agreement, they have never lost territory. When these Arab countries start the war, they always sign peace agreement to stop the war, to regroup, resupply, and to break down their enemies in the West. Make sure that, or to wait out for their favor political parties to win again, for Democrat Party to win again, so that when they go back starting the war again, they're not going to face any consequences. If anything, they will be supported by Democrat parties to make sure that no support uh, for the enemies that the Arab countries fighting. Arab countries fighting the Israelis. Arab countries fighting all the other enemies that they're fighting in the West, in the Middle East, in all the other places. They want to make sure that no support will come to their enemies. No weapon will come to Israel. No money will go to Israel. At the same time, Arab and Muslim countries getting the fighter, the military equipment from the US, from all the other European countries. They're getting tanks, they're getting drones, they're getting fighter jet F-16s in tens of thousands in military equipment. It doesn't matter who gets in any of these Muslim Arab countries, they share those equipment for the destruction of their enemies. Whether you're giving it to Nigeria, you give it to uh, Afghanistan, whether you give the military equipment to Egypt, to Jordan, to Saudi Arabia, it doesn't matter. It is as if you're giving it to Iran, or you're giving it to uh, Taliban, or you're giving it to ISIS, or you're giving it to Hamas. But eventually they share each other. They're brothers in a holy war. So this much have to be understood. You cannot just read and listen to what people say. You have to look at the history of this region. Look at what these people are fighting for. You have to understand what drives the minds of these populations. All this talk about the freedoms, democracy, fighting oppression, colonization, all of this is a new phenomena. This is something that's coming as a result of influence from the Western society, from the Western universities, college, Western ideas. If you go to Arab countries, go to Muslim countries, you don't hear any of these things. If you go to the preacher's house, the mosque, the masjid, the reason why they're fighting is always you're fighting the enemies of God, you're fighting kuffar, you're fighting for paradise. You want to make sure that these people, the Christian and the Jewish, their very existence is an offensive to God, and their existence is long overdue. And that unless we all join and fight and get rid of them, we'll never see a paradise. We're not fulfilling the God's goal, the goal of Allah, the goal of Allah. And unless you're supporting us in all of these, we are failures. And this is what's happening throughout all these countries. And they reinforce these ideas by praying 20 minutes, repeating 20 minutes and 5 times a day, 20 minutes or 30 minutes every day, and asking for the victories over these. And so you have to understand psychologically what drives these people, because if you don't know what someone is, what someone eat, the food someone eat, water, or whatever someone get into their mind, get into their body, that's what drives society. That's what drives the populations. And unless you understand this, you can never understand why this peace agreement that is signed is never never transfer into lasting peace. Every other society in the European, when they sign peace agreement, it normally become permanent. They stop these wars, start building their society, electing good people, creating jobs and economy and become a rich society. That's why all the Arab countries, Muslim countries, running to the West, even though Muslim and Arab countries have been around longer than the Western society. But they're not interested in war. They're not the Muslim countries and Arab countries. Their all interest is to use the Western society, money, ideas to destroy the Western society. Look around. There is non-profit organizations and NGOs in hundreds of millions in the United States and European countries register to steal the taxpayer money that is used to replace the people that are against Hamas, the people that are against a Muslim terrorist, and in its place, they would put people that are like a Democrat Congress you see in the United States, that would be in support of Hamas, that would be in support of jihad, and financially able to uh, support this goal of these groups. And by having and electing these people, putting them in power, they're transforming slowly changing the society structure from the government. It doesn't matter what individual population support, but if individual population doesn't have the power, the people that are collecting your taxes, the people that are uh, guiding the country, the police, the judges, the prosecutors, the education institutions. If all of this institution is being taken over by these Arab and Muslim society, then it doesn't matter if the entire population of the Europe and America support the fight against Muslim terrorists, because they don't have the power to stop, because the people that are in power, the government, are in support of the Muslim terrorists. Like just like what you see in the UK, the population are being arrested for speaking against jihad, against Muslim terrorists, against Palestinians. They've been arrested. They've been sent to prison for speaking out, and this is eventually will happen in the United States. But without going into too much rumbling, this peace agreement will just be just like every other peace agreement in the Middle East. It's only there. They accepted this peace agreement because it gives them more power. Hamas and other 45 Muslim terrorists in Gaza will get to stay in power. They will rebuild their military, their fighters, their supplies, military equipment supplies, financial supplies. They get connected again with Syria, with Lebanon, with all the regional 600 million Muslim Arab countries, populations, be able to reconnect and create a stream of finance, stream of weapons, stream of fighters. And not to mention, they may come back with nuclear weapon this time because Pakistan have nuclear weapons. They support Muslim terrorists. And Turkey have connection to China and Russia. Those are nuclear power countries. They can get small nuclear, chemical nuclear weapons where they can use that to destroy either military bases in a lot of American military bases all over the Middle East. Also American embassies, and even in the United States itself. And this war will not, this peace, the peace agreement will only give these guys, these Hamas and the Muslim Arab countries, a temporary breaks so they can come up with a new strategy break down their enemies in the United States, wait out into Donald Trump is gone, make sure that Democrat Congress get back to power where they control the House and Senate. In that way, they can vote, make sure to shut down any money, weapons, and support that goes to defend Israel or any other Christian country that is fighting in defense of their populations, their country, their freedom. Look at what's happening in Nigeria. Within the last year alone, over 500,000 Christian population have been eradicated, have been moved, and over 200,000 have been killed by the terrorists, by the Muslim terrorists in that region, which is supported by all the Muslim countries and Arab countries. None of it is being reported. Same thing is happening in all over Africa, Sudan, of course, the Middle East. They already eradicated all the Christian. You go back and look at Roman Empire. The Roman Empire used to be more than European, what European is today, the population wise, bigger in populations. They're able to, the Muslims are able to break it down in French, in uh, small countries. They're breaking it down by turning them against each other with the local, whatever local grievances, the disagreement and fights, and then side with those, give the weapons and fighters and political support for those who are fighting in destruction of the Roman Empire, the Roman government, locally, local dispute, local fights. They're able to create local fights with every little state, small regions, small states, so much so that there are literally like 1,000 different rebel groups fighting each other in the Roman, which caused the Roman to split into two. Big one would be the Western Empire. The other side is Byzantine Empire. Eventually, the last remaining Roman Empire was the Byzantine Empire that was defeated by the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire was fought with the Europeans. They fought peace agreement. They signed peace agreement eventually with the European in around 1916, even before that. And then those peace agreements have never lasted. And then there's a peace agreement between 1948, what is it called, Camp David, between Arab and Muslim and Jewish. Those agreement never last. And then, of course, there's a peace agreement between Egypt and Israel, between Palestinian and Israel, which almost every year there is a new peace agreement that have always been broken by the Arab and Muslim countries. So this would be no different than the previous peace agreement. If anything, the fact that signing peace agreement with this group and then agreeing to give them money to rebuild their cities and towns and cities that they caused to destroy, it doesn't make any sense. It's insanity. Why would you want to give these people money instead of them supporting each other to rebuild whatever they destroyed? You incentivize in more wars, more destructions, more attacks by giving them money instead of having their population need to walk on the dirt and destructions that their society create, so they don't do it again and again and again. And if you don't do that, you give them weapons, you give them money, which they will use it to buy weapons, to pay their military, to pay their fighters, to buy equipment, and through whether directly or indirectly. And by giving money to the UN, also you're creating the same thing. Because UN, United Nations, UN have become part of this group as well. And so this peace agreement, anyone who tells you that this peace agreement will last is lying to you and lying to themselves. And Donald Trump is lying too a lot when he says that he brought peace agreement. He brought peace to the world, and this peace agreement is one of the greatest achievement for the Donald Trump, for the Middle East, for the world. He's lying. He did the same thing when he signed a peace agreement with this group, the same groups in what 2000, Ibrahim Accord peace agreement, and then the one before that, George Bush signed again. Bill Clinton signed another one. Remember, almost every couple of years there's a new peace agreement in this region. It never worked because they're using the peace agreement. The Muslim Arab countries, they're using the peace agreement to stop the war, to recover, to create strategy, to break down their enemies politically, internationally, to put the countries that support in power all over the world. So that when it comes to support, they're not going to lose any support. Also, to flood the countries, the Western countries, with their populations, with the Muslim and Arab countries, so that the Arab and Muslims population in the West can go down and burn down the cities and towns, and basically into the Western society, Arabs and Muslims, and become a focal point all over international medias, because they flooded the strait of the Western society with their populations, which burning down the Western society, cities and towns, close down the airport, close down the highway, close down the populations of the Western society, make it impossible for these people to live a normal life. So their entire focus, their media every day, everybody's talking about this issue. And eventually, the Western society leadership is forced to submissions. They're forced to submit. They're forced to vote for whatever this group is asking, instead of removing this population out of their society, living in peace. They are basically folding every time the pressure is coming from these populations that are flooding into the country. So stay tuned. This is kind of videos I'm going to be making. If you like it, feel free to subscribe. Bye bye.